So according to the people who made this movie, Helena Shaw is a femme fatale. I've read comments saying that she can't be a femme fatale because the actress is not attractive enough. She's definitely not a femme fatale contrary to what the writers think, but it has nothing to do with her looks. A femme fatale doesn't have to be hot. It's all in the facial expression, the posture, and the attitude. But what's really unattractive is the character. She's silly, she's a terrible liar, she's poorly dressed, she's rude and annoying. That's not a femme fatale. That's the 2023 edition of a femme fatale. It may sound odd, but the simple fact that she talks with food in her mouth proves that she's not one.
She's not one in the show, Teddy. It's directed.
She has no control over her face and her diction with food in her mouth. This is inappropriate behavior for a dangerous and seductive woman. She cannot use her arms with two giant tacos in her hands. What they should have used instead is a cigarette because it's small, it doesn't have to be chewed, and cigarettes are symbols of glamour and power in the film noir genre. Let me give you an example. Look at this.
Oh, sure, he goes free and I get tossed in for murder and attempt.
Unless you let me handle it.
Ha!
Now let's say she's holding a taco instead. She can't move the taco to show anxiety. She can't toss the taco, which makes the line
And I get tossed in for murder and attempt.
less impactful. She can't drop the taco on the floor. She can't step on the taco with her shoe. She can't cross her arms with the taco in her hands. And she can't make that face with the taco in her mouth. Yes, you can't smoke in movies anymore, but I'm sure they can find a more appropriate prop than this. With a single picture, I can tell that this is a femme fatale, and this is an attractive cartoon character singing with food in her mouth. Just because she's evil and took advantage of a guy doesn't mean she's a femme fatale. The writers are not even using the archetype properly. Why would you put a femme fatale with her 80-year-old godfather and a kid? Who is she supposed to seduce here? Indy follows her because she robbed him, not because he wants to help her. She doesn't use him and she doesn't need him. So that's why she's not a femme fatale. It has nothing to do with her looks. The writers are just incompetent. With that out of the way, let's see why Helena Shaw is terribly written. As usual, the problem is not that she's evil or flawed, but that she's never framed as such. Her horrible actions are either blamed on someone else or conveniently forgotten about, and in the end she magically becomes a hero. The writers pat themselves on the back for genuinely thinking they wrote a complex anti-hero, when in reality they wrote an evil character with a hero sticker slapped on her face. You know, a bit like Kylo Ren leading an army of slaves and killing people for 2.7 movies until he's not evil anymore and he gets to put his tongue in the mouth of our protagonist after torturing her, killing her father figures, and trying to kill her countless times. What a beautiful story about a poor misunderstood man, and what an empowering message for women everywhere. I'm literally shaking from such awesomeness. Anyway, the first scene of Helena Shaw is pretty solid. She sits in the back and listens to the lecture. She doesn't answer his question to the class at first until it becomes clear that no one cares or knows anything about it. So she doesn't come across as an arrogant asshole who thinks she's the main character, but just someone trying to help out a poor old professor, and it works. Her liveliness and interest is in direct contrast to the dead silence of the class and provides Indy with the support he needs to give an impassioned speech about history. She gives a funny look to a student who wonders why anyone would be interested and enthusiastic about history, and since we've established that no one cares about what he says, it comes off again as an appropriate response that, dare I say, makes her enjoyable to watch. She looks amused when Indy gives his retirement trophy to a random guy, a feeling shared by the audience, making her a relatable human being. My goal here is to show how effective a simple, well-written scene can be. Cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. You don't need a crazy plot with time travel and fake people to have an entertaining movie. Anyway, let's stop talking about good writing because it's off topic. We're talking about Helena. So Indy is her godfather. She says she just graduated in archaeology and is looking for a MacGuffin for her doctorate. Helena is lying in this scene. The last time the MacGuffin was in her house was when she was 12, and she acts like she doesn't know what happened to it. Alright, fine, she was only 12, she could have forgotten. The lie works. The problem is that she goes further and pretends that she doesn't know her father had it and kept it in the house for years, which is ridiculous. You lived in a house for 12 years with a father who was obsessed with the MacGuffin, and you expect us to believe that you never saw him with it? On top of that, you admit that your father knew the location of the MacGuffin. So your lie is to pretend that in your mind, your father knew the location of the MacGuffin that drove him mad, and yet he never went looking for it, and that in 12 years you never saw him with it. On top of that, you admit that you read all of his books, journals, and notes about the MacGuffin, and you want us to believe that there's not a single mention of him finding it, or even a picture. What an unbelievable lie. What a moron. I guess the writers really think Indy and the audience are dumb. And why do you lie at all? Can someone please explain to me the difference between telling a complete lie? My father told me you lost it in a river in the French Alps. A partial lie? I know my father had it, but I don't know what happened to it. And the truth? I remember everything. He told you to destroy it, did you? There's no difference. There's no need to lie. He will help if he wants to, no matter what you say. In fact, lying makes him less likely to help. What an idiot. The reason she wants the MacGuffin is yet again a lie.
And I'd become famous. Well, not famous, renowned, fated.
Why do you say that? Are you dumb? How can you be so bad at lying? Why don't you say something like, I need it for my doctorate, I need it to save my father's reputation, or I need it to get over the loss of my father? In the end, Indy has to convince himself to help because her arguments are incredibly bad. I wonder if the writers did this on purpose because they thought it was clever, but it's really not. She just sounds stupid and extremely lucky.
Why are you chasing the thing that drove your father crazy?
Wouldn't you?
It's clearly a reference to Indy's father's obsession with the Grail. There's no reason to say this otherwise. It means she did some research on Indy. They go back to the university to get the MacGuffin, and she lies again when he asks a second time if she really forgot about what happened to it. Literally 16 seconds later, Indy shows her the MacGuffin and she says,
I knew you wouldn't destroy it.
proving she was lying. How can you be this bad at lying? And they call her a femme fatale. What a joke! The baddies come in, Helena says we need to get out of here, and starts running with the MacGuffin. She slams the door in Indy's face, apologizes, and just leaves him for dead. What the hell was that? She actively trapped her godfather in a room full of people with guns after robbing him. Why? What is this? Your apology is bullshit. Why don't you lock the door after him? You give him a chance to leave and you still get the MacGuffin because he's too old to get it back. Nope, she leaves him for dead instead. Well, that's it. She's evil. You can find a good reason later on to explain why she had to lie and steal the MacGuffin, but you can never find a good reason to explain why she went out of her way to get him killed. No explanation can redeem her. It's over. She's a bad guy. And as we'll see in 5 seconds, the reason why she lied and stole the MacGuffin is very fascinating. That's it. That's the introduction of our new character. We learn that she's a terrible liar, which means it's probably the first time she's ever stolen anything. We learn that she's in over her head with the baddies because she clearly doesn't have a plan. Is she really an archaeologist? No idea. Does she know anything about history, or is she just parroting her father's notes? No idea. Does she want to be famous? Probably not. This character introduction just sucks. In 56 minutes we learned very little about her and we're not even sure if any of it is true. This is more confusing than anything else, but it's okay. The movie is long, too long, and there's plenty of time to learn more about her. I'm very excited to see what she's going to do next.
65, 70? 75, 80.
So the reason why she lied to her godfather, robbed him, and left him for dead is because she likes money. Good job, guys. You probably realized that you couldn't redeem her because of the door incident, so you gave up entirely. She's a thief, a liar, and a murderer of old people because she likes money. Man, capitalism has really gotten out of hand. So she's evil, but it's made by Disney, Lucasfilm, and there's no villains in Disney movies anymore. So they're going to redeem this unredeemable character, and it's going to be a historical day for writing.
You're out of your depth, Jonesy.
I feel like it's the perfect time to use the whip.
This auction's over.
Au contraire, it's hardly begun.
Some French to sound even more insufferable.
She thinks I'm a criminal. He's the one wanted for murder. Nice big picture in the New York Herald.
Laughing about the 2 innocent guys who were killed because of her and the fact that she's ruining the life and reputation of an 80-year-old man. What a great human being.
You stole it. Then you stole it.
And then I stole it. It's called capitalism.
True, so true. Capitalism stole money from the people who went to see Indiana Jones product number 5. You're also stealing your own money by making a movie that nobody watches. And now I'm stealing your movie. I guess we're all capitalists. Between that and the socialist ants from Quantum Mania, it's clear that the people working at Disney are using words they don't understand. She holds an illegal auction while drinking. She has no weapons and her bodyguard is a kid. She supposedly paid off the cops but we never see them. She simply doesn't take any precautions. She looks like a fool. She doesn't run background checks on people before she sells them stolen goods. She doesn't even know that this guy used to be in the evil German party. She's supposed to be an experienced con artist, but she looks like a complete amateur. The guy is heavily inspired by Werner von Braun, which means there must be a ton of publicly available information about him. I don't expect her to know that he's still working for the evil party, but I do expect her to know that he once did. But no, she doesn't know anything and spits out her drink like an ignorant idiot. At this point in the story, aside from the scene where she leaves him for dead, the character is salvageable. The movie just needs to acknowledge all of her flaws and put Indy in charge. He can teach her everything she needs, even basic human decency. But we get none of that because the movie refuses to admit that she's an incompetent buffoon. Why make your character so stupid if you refuse to show it? She's a useless asshole, but we're told that she's cool and tough. Indy never takes charge and she's never held accountable for anything because it would make her look bad. If the main character of your adventure movie doesn't know what an adventure is or how to live one, you have to make her vulnerable, like Willie. She doesn't have to be an idiot, but she has to look like she's out of her comfort zone in the beginning, so that by the end she's a badass adventurer. But it never happens in this movie. According to the writers, she's a badass from the beginning even though she's clearly incompetent, so she never learns anything. Let's move on to the chase scene. The baddies have the MacGuffin and our heroes try to chase them, but the police shows up.
Tell him to back off.
I just told him to shoot you.
Does she hate old people or something? Why are you making a joke right now? I say a joke, but she sounds irritated and patronizing. She looks like she really hates him. The police leaves because Helena's ex shows up and he's a mobster.
And told me to come home with your head.
Does it have to be that bitch?
I hate her.
It's your new man. No.
It's complicated.
I hate her.
What exactly can go with this guy?
Just some bail money and a lifetime of happiness.
I hate her.
I presume you sold the ring?
It didn't go for as much as I thought it would.
I hate her. Why does she act like she's in a different movie than everyone else? Is she a real person? Why is she always smiling? Why is she so annoying? Why does she tell jokes to make everyone laugh? I already mentioned this with the Willow Show. The characters in Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Willow are unintentionally funny.
Are we hit? More or less. John, I'm sorry. They got us.
They are not a bunch of clowns making jokes for the audience. Stop it. First, you have to be cool to use one-liners, and second, you need the right context. Contrary to what people might think, Indy doesn't make witty comments to the bad guys every 5 seconds. The only time he does is when he's in real danger to hide his fear. He takes the bad guys very seriously. She's in danger too, but it doesn't feel like it because the tone is completely off. She's smiling all the time, everyone's talking over each other, and she's humiliating the bad guy. I'm sure he's not a nice person, but he's introduced as a poor victim in his pajamas, madly in love with a woman. How can we side with her after she shot all over such a pathetic man? I'm still shocked that she said, I owe him a lifetime of happiness with a smile on her face. The wording on that one is beyond evil. Now that she's done with the guy, it's time to shit on Indy some more. Immediately after she says she sold the ring, they start shooting at her and Helena blames Indy for it. This is unbelievable. The fact that Indy is here is her fault, the fact that the guy is talking to them is her fault, the fact that the guy shows up at that exact moment is her fault because she held the auction in his hotel, which again shows how stupid she is, and the fact that they start shooting is also her fault because of what she said. It's all her fault, but the movie can't admit that. Indy replies that he's not the one engaged to a mobster, which is a reasonable position. This prompts her to say,
I don't need morality lessons from an aging grave robber.
I'm not a grave robber. Your father and I did important work together.
Don't tell me all your escapades were noble, selfless quests. You did it in a buzz.
There's so much hatred in her tone, it's crazy. Why is she talking about his age? It's completely irrelevant. Pretty sure everyone agrees that dating a mobster is not ideal. Saying he's a grave robber is also irrelevant. By that logic, no one can give moral lessons because no one is perfect. Same with the selfless escapades line. True selflessness doesn't exist. Of course he gets something out of these escapades. Her argument is trash because it's like saying someone built a school in a poor country not out of selflessness but because it made them feel good. No shit. At the end of the day, Indy donates artifacts to museums while Helena sells them to evil Germans. That makes him infinitely more noble than she is. More importantly, Indy said he was doing important work. He never said he was noble or selfless or an amazing person. If you were not paying attention to what Indy was saying, you'd agree with her because in isolation what she's saying makes perfect sense. Except that's not what he said, and that's also not the point of the conversation. We were talking about the fact that she got engaged to a mobster and somehow Indy is the one on trial. I don't believe anyone would say that in real life because it's completely silly. The writers are clearly making up reasons to tarnish his reputation in front of the audience. The goal of this exchange is to bring Indy down to make her look good and try to legitimize or at least downplay her horrible actions because you guessed it, the movie still doesn't want to admit that she's a horrible person. They desperately try to make her sound cool, regardless of the fact that her arguments are not only off-topic, but also extremely bad. The writers just took the most common criticism of the franchise and threw it into the movie to create some fake drama. It's very easy to make an argument that archaeology is theft and somehow they failed miserably. She's the one doing it for the buzz. Stop projecting the flaws of your garbage characters onto Indy. Wait, what's this? He stole the artifact, and then they stole it, and then he stole it back. It's like poetry. And now he's saying honorary and you're paying for dinner, which means he's doing it for the money. And look, he's also a thief, and a liar too. My god, he's like Helena. He's a thief, or should I say a capitalist? He's greedy, and he's a liar. They're the same characters. I genuinely believe that's how they wrote Helena. The writers watched the other movies and reproduced what they saw without realizing that context and nuance matter. Here comes the best line of the movie.
I'm not sure Professor Schmidt is an actual professor, but he's a Nazi.
She's either a troll or a cartoon character. I don't believe someone like that can exist in real life. I'm not sure he's an actual professor. Hahaha, is your brain working? The car crashes into a wall and Helena decides to leave him behind again. At least this time he's not left for dead. This could almost be called character development.
You end up like this.
What do you mean? Resourceful, daring, beautiful, self-sufficient?
She's delusional if she thinks she's resourceful, daring, and self-sufficient. She's clearly none of those things and she has too big an ego to use sarcasm. Indy asks her if she thinks her father would be proud that his only daughter is selling her soul for bail money. To which she replies, "It sounds good when you put it like that." Again, I hate her. That's all the criticism I can offer. We're not even halfway through the movie and she already defeated me. Could you take things seriously for once? She's proud of it. What a joke. This is the first instance of her being resourceful, daring, and self-sufficient. It only took 70 minutes. It's completely over the top, but not in a cool way because instead of punching people on a tank or fighting on a broken bridge, she just lies on the back of a car and tries to strangle a guy for 2 minutes. There's no cool death, there's no cool stunt, there's nothing funny or clever. She's just taking a nap. Now that I think about it, using a metal bar to break a window and strangle a guy was the extent of her ingenuity. What a completely useless plan. She's not resourceful. She's also not self-sufficient because someone has to drive and Indy has to save her. And well, she's not daring either because jumping on a moving car for no reason is what is commonly referred to as suicidal tendencies. She could have stayed in the car, there was no need to jump like that. So Indy saves her and there's another great exchange.
I didn't come here to rescue you from your fiancé.
Rescue me?
It really shows how grateful she is and how much she has grown as a person since the beginning. Listen to her tone. She's clearly not delusional anymore.
Rescue me?
Seriously, can you shut up and let him have this for once? I love how she left him for dead while he saved her, and instead of thanking him, she takes offense at the mere idea that she might have needed his help in any way. Can't have damsels in distress anymore.
Not the smoothest breakup I ever had.
What a funny woman. She's so cool.
Really, there's been someone there for me, some father figure, someone specifically anointed for the job. Don't beat yourself up about it. I mean, what even is a godfather? Anyway, family never was your strong suit.
I fell off my chair when I heard that. This is outrageous, shifting the blame and shitting on his dead son. What a garbage human being. She has to know about his dead son, she knew about his father, and she doesn't look surprised when he talks about it. She could also be shitting on his marriage too, but Marion and Indy are not officially divorced yet, so she might not know about it. But then again, why say it's not his strong suit when the guy has had a wife and a son for 12 years? Even if she didn't know about his son and his marriage, she's completely out of line for shitting on his family and his life.
I mean, what even is a godfather?
Being a godfather, I'm glad you asked, means nothing. He doesn't owe you anything. If you're a degenerate, that's your own problem. Saying she didn't have a father is a great way to make people feel sorry for her, but it's completely undermined by what she says next. This is a kind of line that should be written for a villain. My backstory is so sad. Anyway, I'm going to kill you now. Why is he even a godfather? I don't believe he would do that. Once again, it's a choice made by the writers and not by the character to make him look bad.
Dad did.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
I see you watched Rings of Power.
And the Wright brothers were born during the Civil War.
Oh, I thought maybe you went to school with them.
Oh, come on, Indy. That was funny.
Why are they bullying an old man? Being made fun of by two assholes who hate you is not funny.
I'm stuck in Tangier with a broken tuk-tuk and 2 thieves. I'm wanted for murder. Nazis have half of Archimedes' dial.
What is wrong with this woman? Indy's absolutely right and she's laughing in his face. She's ruining his life and almost got him killed several times and she's amused by it. There's 2 idiots chewing in front of him. I'm sure they didn't even ask him if he wanted anything. Indy tries to fix the car and they make fun of him. He succeeds and of course she's annoyed by it. Again guys, she is resourceful and self-sufficient. Immediately after that, he has to argue why he's useful to Helena in order to convince her to take him with them. It's hilarious and pathetic at the same time. The movie had to bring him down a bit because he was outshining the star of the show. Shortly after, the kid makes fun of a guy with one leg and she tells him to stop twice. Where is this coming from? She doesn't make fun of people anymore?
The only thing worth believing in ever is cash.
What a stupid and boring character. She asks a bunch of questions about his personal life, which seems out of character. I don't understand why she's suddenly so interested in him or why Indy is telling her his life story. The guy talks about the loss of his family and all I can think of is what she said earlier, but at least she keeps her mouth shut for once. This is a perfect opportunity for a simple "I'm sorry" for all the things she said and did to him. Just say "I'm sorry" to show some character growth and I'll forgive you for everything, except for the attempted murder of course. But like I said 10 times already, she can't say sorry because it would mean she's in the wrong. So instead she says something completely stupid.
You're still wearing the ring.
No shit. He just said that losing his son ended his marriage, not that he hates his wife. Of course he still loves her. Were you listening or were you just pretending to? No apologies and a stupid comment. Nice try. I love how she goes through the stuff of the people who help her for free and steals their booze. The kid also steals a lighter too and she's amused by it. We can't make fun of people with one leg, but we can steal their stuff. They go into the water and Helena ends up saving Indy. I'm not sure why, but I'll give her 1 point. The baddies attack the boat and kill the 4 owners, which I find hilarious. They help her for free, she robs them, and then they die because of her. It's so wholesome. The baddies give her diamonds worth well over 100 grand to decipher the MacGuffin. After all that, she gets rewarded with an insane amount of money. It's so funny. Remember kids, if you lie, get people killed, and work with evil Germans, you'll get rewarded. So it turns out that she can decipher the MacGuffin, so maybe she really is an archaeologist. This scene is very strange because she's dumb and stupid the whole movie, and suddenly she seems smart and capable like a real explorer. It's almost like the character is not consistent at all.
I have said it before, and I will say it again. When you're in a tight spot, dynamite.
Wow, I'm rolling on the floor laughing my ass off over here. Is she on drugs or something? And Indy's the one who does it for the buzz. Right, what a joke. I don't recall Indy orgasming on a boat after an action scene where 4 people died.
My friend was just murdered.
Sorry.
Oh my god, she said sorry, but she's still a horrible person. 4 people died to help her out, this is not a normal reaction to have. And she clearly doesn't mean it because she immediately starts talking about selling the MacGuffin responsible for their death. I guess she wants to make sure that they didn't die in vain. What a horrible person. She's still the same garbage human being she was at the beginning of the movie. She hasn't learned anything and is in no position to be redeemed at all. Once again, they don't give food to Indy. She talks with her mouth full of taco, and for some reason this is attractive to men who are probably half her age. The kid complains about Indy being in charge to make sure the audience understands that she's more important than him.
Okay, so he's like running the show now.
He's not running the show, Teddy.
I don't know why he would say that when Indy is the one following Helena like a good dog. I love how he complains and doesn't talk about the insanity that happened to them at the auction, or in the streets, or on the boat. They act like it happens all the time, but it's not believable. Besides, they have diamonds worth well over 100 grand now. Why not walk away, or at least mention it? The diamonds never come up again. I don't get it. They're rich. The kid gets kidnapped by the baddies and she seems a little worried about him, so maybe she has a heart after all. Who knew? Shortly after, she laughs when he says he shouldn't be doing this at his age. She's the one responsible for this, and she has the audacity to laugh. Maybe she doesn't have a heart after all.
Thought you were all about the money.
I am.
Nobody memorizes every page of their dead father's notebooks for the money.
Why not? This is not as clever as the writers think. See, you care about your daddy and archaeology. No, her father taught her the code when she was 9. All she had to do was to memorize 3.5 books. If you tell me to memorize 3.5 books to get an item worth at least $170,000, I will do it. Sounds like a good deal to me. And that's only half of the MacGuffin, you can double the money. So no, the writers are not being clever. Also, one more thing. She was selling half of the MacGuffin when Indy stopped her. She clearly doesn't care about it, and he knows it. Why is he saying that? This is typical of bad writers. The way you introduce and characterize people at the beginning is important if you want your payoffs and character arcs to work. You can't use this to show that she's changed or that she's more than a thief. All you had to do was have her say this. I wasn't gonna sell it, you know, the MacGuffin. I was going to swap it for a fake after the auction. Wow, incredible. It gives a new perspective on the character. When she said, wouldn't you, maybe she really meant it. That would be crazy. They find the MacGuffin and Indy's shot after helping Helena and the kid escape.
Helena, come on. Teddy, we can't just leave it. We're not. Follow me.
So you care about him now. Since when? The writers think 2 shitty scenes are enough to convince people that they became BFFs.
Good dog, my foot.
Why are you so annoying?
Sorry, pal, but you're nasty.
Why are you so unfunny? So Indy wants to stay here and die, and there's an emotional scene about it that's completely ruined by a joke.
I did it! Bravo, Teddy! Good kid! Teddy, we've got to go.
What was that? It also comes off as condescending. How am I supposed to keep crying after that?
He needs to be in his. His work is not done. He needs to go home. There is medicine at home. He cannot die here. He can't.
What is happening? Am I watching a different movie?
I need to do this.
Me too.
Now that's more like it, punching the franchise in the face. Indy isn't allowed to think for himself. He's so pathetic he can't even choose his own death. The writers need to come up with an idea to fix this. She took away the last wish of a dying old man who has nothing to live for. If she brings him back and he's still miserable, the audience will think she's evil. So how do you convince people that she made the right choice? By reuniting him with Marion. How did that happen? I don't know. What does it have to do with the movie? I don't know. What has changed in their relationship between the beginning and the end of the movie? I don't know. What has changed with Indy? I don't know. But they're together again, isn't it cool? And it was all thanks to this hero. So now the only purpose of Indy in life is his wife. I didn't know Indiana Jones was a rom-com. He really fell off. So we overlook all the horrible things she did to Indy because she got him his wife back. I guess Marion found an end to her grief because Indy went to see the Greeks. And I guess leaving him for dead was part of her plan to fix Indy's marriage.
Someone told me you were back. Are you back, Indy?
Why is he taking the blame for the failure of their marriage? He never left. She did. You goddamn stupid movie. You did it again, Disney Lucasfilm. You deconstructed a beloved character to insert your trash character into his story. My theory is that his head hit the rocks when he fell from the punch and died. She killed him, and the movie shows us a fake ending to pretend like she's not a murderer. In conclusion, this character is clearly well written. I thought she was evil, but the movie explained why I was wrong and why it was never her fault. She doesn't need redemption or growth because that's for losers. She was a hero all along. She just pretended to lack the skills of a true adventurer to fix Indy. Her selflessness kept the world from turning into the Flash movie. I hope we get a sequel. She's so cool and funny too.